This is the fastest man to ever live, a global icon, an Olympic legend. Usain Bolt ran faster than anyone in human history, but even he couldn't outrun what happened next. Millions of dollars vanished, not in a heist, not in a crash, not in a bad investment, but quietly, slowly, on paper. For years, everything looked fine. The statement said the money was there. The system said it was safe, but it wasn't. What happened to Usain Bolt isn't just a scandal. It's a warning about trust, power, and how a single failure inside a financial system can destroy everything you think is secure. So how does something like this even happen? How does the fastest man in history lose millions without ever seeing it disappear? To understand that, you have to look past the headlines and straight into a company called Stocks Securities Limited.
Making the right decision today determines where you'll be tomorrow. At SSL, our wealth advisors prepare you for the future.
According to court filings and regulators, Usain Bolt placed his money into SSL, a regulated Jamaican investment firm. This wasn't a risky gamble or a secret scheme. It was meant to be safe, a long-term home for his earnings. But behind the scenes, the system meant to protect that money was already breaking down. Because what most people don't realize is this: when fraud happens inside a trusted institution, it doesn't look like chaos. It looks like routine. Someone inside SSL allegedly had direct access to client accounts. That access meant they didn't need to break in, hack systems, or raise alarms. They could move money quietly, the same way legitimate transactions happen every day. And once you have access, you have opportunity.
Now, this is what we know so far. About January 12, 2023, the public was made aware of a former manager at SSL, Jean-Ann Panton, who had been taking monies from clients' accounts. Now, this is millions of dollars dating back to 2010. The news then got global as we got the bombshell information that Jamaican sprint legend Usain Bolt, who has an account with the entity, was missing $12 million US. A signed statement from Jean-Ann Panton detailed some 40 SSL clients whose monies she said she borrowed to finance personal and family expenses. She explained a grand scheme of forging signatures and emails to sell client securities and pocket the cash. Now, that's when things started to get complicated. Based on her written confession, that's to SSL, Usain Bolt's account was not listed among those swindled by Miss Panton. That raised more questions. If Panton did not take Bolt's money, then who did? And what other irregularities have been happening at SSL?
Investigators say funds linked to Bolt were allegedly moved out in stages over time, not all at once, not dramatically, slowly enough that no one noticed. And while the real money was leaving, the paperwork told a different story. Account statements were allegedly created showing millions of dollars still sitting safely in place. So on paper, everything looked normal. The balances looked healthy. The investments looked intact, and as long as those statements existed, there was no reason for alarm. Not from the client and not from the system meant to protect him. The money was gone, but the lie was still alive.
For me, it's tough, but I think through the years of competing, that helped me to understand and just focus on what's the matter. I leave the matter in my lawyer's hand, you understand? I'm just trying to focus on my family and try not to think too much about it because it's a stressful situation.
This raises the most uncomfortable question of all: how does something like this go unnoticed for years? SSL wasn't unregulated, it was overseen by Jamaica's financial watchdog, the Financial Services Commission. There were supposed to be audits, safeguards, red flags, but according to reports, the fraud slipped through the cracks, buried under paperwork, delayed reviews, and a system that relied too heavily on trust instead of verification. On paper, everything looked fine. In reality, it wasn't. As long as the statements matched the records, no alarm was triggered, no emergency meeting, no warning call, which meant the lie didn't just survive, it blended in. That illusion only shattered when Bolt tried to confirm or access his funds. What should have been a routine check exposed the truth. An account once holding over $12 million had been reduced to roughly $12,000. In that moment, the paperwork collapsed, the silence broke, and a global scandal was born.
Former executives linked to the scandal hit investment firm Stocks Securities Limited, SSL, have now been charged.
Arrests, and I know a lot of people are saying finally some more arrests. This is in relation to the SSL fraud case. That's the one in which Usain Bolt and other people lost millions of dollars.
And then came the turning point in the investigation, the moment authorities started taking people into custody. In late December 2025, security forces launched coordinated operations at multiple locations tied to SSL, executing search and seizure warrants as part of the long-running probe. Over the weekend, several individuals connected to the firm were arrested in connection with the alleged scheme, including former executives now in custody and being questioned about their roles and how millions disappeared. This wasn't just a case of one bad actor anymore. Investigators are now looking at how decisions were made at the top levels of SSL and how multiple people may have enabled or turned a blind eye while funds were quietly moved out of client accounts. For years, it looked like nothing was wrong. But once the investigation started to peel back the layers, it became clear this was bigger than one person, and now the law is finally catching up. Usain Bolt's story is more than just a scandal about lost money, it's a lesson about trust, oversight, and vigilance. Even the most successful and careful people can fall victim when systems fail and insiders abuse their power. While the investigation continues and the legal process unfolds, one thing is clear: wealth, reputation, and security are only as strong as the systems that protect them. For everyone watching, it's a reminder: always ask questions, verify, and never assume that what looks safe on paper is truly secure.